my vision for this podcast is to reach an audience that is not heard enough, and this is like everyday people. This is people that are still in the neighborhood struggling, people that, you know, that are not being heard. The stories are not being heard, and a lot of them are stories of people that have changed, right? It's like I want to emphasize the then and now stories, right? People that have made it out the neighborhood and changed their lives around and have an amazing story to tell now, and their development in life shows. Those are the kind of stories that I want to be able to tell. It's not other artists, it's not other influencers. It's like everyday people that have the most impactful stories, and people that just are not heard because they're so humble. They they keep their stories silent. But I believe that those are the most impactful stories because someone's gonna tune in one day and be like, "Damn, dude, I can relate to that." I've been through that. I've that's happened to me too. I lived that life. You know, yeah. Um, but go back to like why I'm starting this podcast. I mean, there's more in depth to that. The reason why I started the reason why this idea even came about from the very beginning was because there was a point in my life where I was struggling with my own mental health. I was in a place in my life where um, my mental health was in shambles. I was struggling, um, and I was in a space where I felt hopeless. Right. Like I tell people the story. I go, if you seen me from the outside, like I looked okay. I had my own place, one or two cars. I had a good job, but on the inside, I was just torn apart. I was struggling uh, uh, with PTSD that wasn't even diagnosed yet. Um, a lot of things were happening to me in my body that I just didn't understand. So it just wasn't, I was just not in a good place. I seeked mental help, mental health help. I went to treatment, and that after that treatment is what just something inside of me sparked. I said, you know what? I know that I have a crazy story. I have an amazing story to tell, and this people are telling me constantly. Like people even prior to that were telling me, "Dude, you have an amazing story." Like you know, kind of going back to where people thought that like from the outside that my life looked okay because I could hold myself together so well, but not knowing that inside I was broken, severely broken. But that was the motivating factor to, you know what, man, I need to tell my story. How can I tell my story? Hey, a podcast. And it wasn't this is 2020, 2021. They weren't as popular as they were now, right? So that's when the wheels started turning on like on the ideas, right? But life was still happening. Life was still happening. I was still struggling. I was still going through stuff. And then so it kept getting put back. The last 3 years, unfortunately, I've lost a lot of people in my life. I lost my brother-in-law that was like a father to me. I lost my little brother. He wasn't my blood brother, but he was my little brother. Blood couldn't have made us any closer. I lost him. I lost one of my really close friends, and I lost my cousin. Um, all in a 3 year span. 2 year span to be more realistic, and that was like that was the breaking point where I said, you know what, I need to do something about this shit. Like I need to not only tell my own story, but I need to reach an audience, and I need to talk about the reality of mental health. Because I really believe that mental health and drug addiction and alcohol abuse and mental health are side by side. It's one. And I say, you know what? I want to reach an audience where I want to create a platform where I can talk to men, and men can tune in and be like, and be inspired by other men, not just myself. It's the people that I'm going to bring onto this platform and telling their stories and their development and being able to put it out for the world to see and for people that are struggling to see and they can relate to, right? men and women, right? But the original inspiration behind it was because of my own mental health, losing people in the process, and and just for people to see my journey as well. My just to hear my story, witness my growth, and watch my journey as it unfolds, because my journey is continuous. As I embark on this new journey in my life and starting this podcast, people are not only going to see my podcast, me building a brand and a platform, but seeing people's stories and watching my own personal growth, because I'm gonna develop as I'm going, and it's gonna be a continuous development, and people are gonna see my journey, and my goal is to inspire. It's that's my purpose. Make a change, even if it's small. But to make an impact in lives and the people around me on a positive level.